sell. We have some of our legacy models that we'll see from time to time, like the XIs or even like the X2. You can see just kind of looking at the pictures how they've really evolved over time with their size, their portability, and then the biggest thing is the built-in batteries and stuff like that. So before it was not really portable up until like 2012, 2010-ish time. Now we've really gone portable, as you can imagine. It's very important to the consumers. So the X3 is what we would call our professional grade model. That's going to be our high-end teachers, fitters, club fitters, really serious simulation people, or just the guy who wants to have the best of everything, basically. Down one step is going to be Mevo Plus. You can see it kind of auto leveling. So yeah, that's a really big feature of X3 is going to be that auto leveling capability. One step down, Mevo Plus. That's where we're really going to get into the consumer market for simulation capabilities. It's really what it was mainly, the idea behind it is bringing a consumer product that's still affordable but still doesn't suffer the accuracy of our professional grade products. And then, you know, kind of that fills in the gap between X3 and the standard Mevo, which as you can see is very, very small, meant for very basic data, your consumer level golfer, just a standard golfer who wants basic data, video capabilities, or the ability to hit golf balls within their garage and kind of see how far they're going.
There's no camera on there.
No camera on this one. Yeah, you can see the cameras on these two, the Mevo Plus, and then on the X3 itself. Standard Mevo doesn't have any built-in cameras. It uses the camera on like your tablet or on your phone to capture video or you know, pictures, but not very technical, very basic. As Johan, I think, mentioned earlier, it's a great filler of that golfer from when they're in their lesson to when they're not in their lesson, so they can kind of provide the instructor some data then too.
So yeah, so the data, so if you have that and you don't have the camera, so it's giving you the data of what it's measuring, but no video capability.
Not directly from the device itself. Now, I can use the camera here, I'll show you in just a second, but you can use the camera from the device to capture the swing video. And then these kind of give you the ability for alignment. Now, they're a little more technical with what they capture, so you have to align them properly to like a target. Where this device isn't going to measure any data that's going like left or right. So it's not going to show if the ball is slicing or drawing. It's just going to give you the basic data. And because of that, it doesn't need a camera for alignment. You just need to have it close. So most of our devices, we're going to need a minimum 16 feet, excuse me, all of our devices, we need a minimum 16 feet of space, 8 feet in front of the tee box, 8 feet behind the tee box. The width, the height of the area, that's all personal preference. So as long as I'm comfortable swinging a golf club. And then outdoors on the driving range, that's where we have a big advantage with Doppler technology. X3 will track the entire ball flight on a level playing field. Mevo Plus is going to track a good portion of the ball flight, but not the entire ball flight, and then it's going to run an algorithm. Standard Mevo is going to track it for a pretty short period of time and then calculate its algorithm. So, you know, as you go up in the product lineup, you get, you know, more accuracy, especially on, you know, non-favorable days where it's very windy, things like that. But you're still going to get very accurate data with the standard Mevo. We're just not going to give you as much data. So 51 parameters, 16 parameters, 8 parameters. So as you go down, it gets very basic, as you can tell. The standard Mevo, we put about 6 to 8 feet behind us. I just like to walk off a good distance here. Place it down. You can see there's a power button right here on the side of it. You literally just push the power button and then it's ready for connection. This is the only device of the three that we have that will use a Bluetooth connection. And it's actually very simple. You actually just have to launch the Mevo Golf software. And you'll see everything here on the screen as we go through it. But the connection, everything is pretty well automatic. You'll see it's searching for it up in the right-hand corner already where it says disconnected here in just a second. That'll change to orange. It'll say connecting, and then it's going to go ahead and be ready for connection. So the only thing that we really have to tell this device as far as the setting goes is, are we going to be on indoor mode or like pitch shots around the green, kind of short flight shots, or are we just outdoors with a, you know, a wide open driving range? So that's kind of really the important things you need to tell it, along with the distance that the device is from the teeing area. Other than that, you're really just adjusting maybe like your video settings, how you want the videos trimmed. I'm even going to use the front video on the iPad so we can get a video of the swing as well. And then it's ready. So the beauty of this is you don't have to go ask somebody on the driving range, hey, can you take a video of my golf swing or something like that. You could really set it up on a tripod. Do you play golf?
Yeah.
All right, so you can take a swing. Awesome, let's get a golf club. Yeah, here, we've got some ladies clubs over here. Just a second. Oh, that's okay. So get an iron shot here. So one thing about indoors with the radar technology is we do put a silver metallic sticker on the golf ball.
Okay.
Now, as you can see, they're pretty small. There's only one on that entire golf ball.
Right.
And what it does is when the radar's indoors, we don't have a lot of space to track it. And so that reflection of the metallic sticker helps it see the spin rate more accurately.
Okay.
You could hit 100 shots in here without the stickers. It'll still capture almost every shot,
Okay.
but it's likely going to calculate the spin as opposed to measuring the spin. The spin rate has quite a few important factors. You know, it affects distance, the height of the shot, the deviation, how far left and right that will go. So it is important to capture that, you know, accordingly when we're talking about indoor golf.
Right.
Let me just make sure we've got 7-iron, 8-iron, I think it was. Give me 1 second here.
I'm getting older too. All my bones creak.
All right.
Right.
Now I'm going to have to back up just a hair. Perfect. So you could take your swing anytime. You know, the device is going to talk to us as well, so you probably hear it through the projector speaker. It's going to say how far the shot was struck, and it's automatically going to capture this video for us. So it doesn't matter when you take the swing. As soon as the shot is hit, that's when everything triggers automatically. So you go when you're ready. All right. Okay, so you can also choose if you don't want it to be the distance. It can be the spin rate. It can be the launch angle, and so then it provides you that information there. Now let me go back to our review screen here, and there's our video of your golf swing with the data overlaid right on top of it. So, for not playing golf very frequently, you hit the ball pretty well. So, not only can you just view the video, but you see there is kind of a drawing option here on the right side. We can draw any of the instructional lineage or circles or squares, whatever you wanted to put on there, you know, for instructional purposes, you can do so. It does save the video directly to your photo library, and then you can also export it and you can share it through social media or to the cloud of myflightscope.com, you know, which is great for sharing, you know, data and videos back and forth with your coaches. I can email it directly to you from the application. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
So it makes that teacher-student relationship a little easier when you're not together all the time. But you can see as far as the data that's captured, it's still very basic. So we're getting the ball speed, the club speed, the efficiency of your strike. That's what smash factor is going to be called. The carry distance, the angle at which it's launched, the backspin, and the time and height. Now, this is the difference between standard Mevo and then Mevo Plus and X3 is we're not going to get a picture of, well, did that ball go off to the right or to the left or how straight did it go. We're just going to get a 2D visual of the trajectory from the side view. So as we go up, we're going to start getting more features. So
then is it possible to understand the difference of the three? So,
oh, yeah.
So I can even get this, print that out, have this to then compare to how many more parameters.
Yeah, definitely.
See, like,
definitely. We can definitely you know, get that information. That's easy. You'll see how much it more advanced, obviously, as you go, because basically with the Mevo, this is about as extravagant as it gets right here, is that video and then seeing this data. Now, you don't have to take a video with every swing. You could technically just hit shots without the video, and you would get basically just a data screen like we were just on, where it just shows a 2D trajectory with the data screen. Or you can do, you know, like an Excel spreadsheet. If you hit multiple shots, it'll break it all down for you as well.
Oh.
Like, what do we got? 8-iron. So it'll even give you your averages then there as well. 6-iron, okay. So we just mismarked it, but not a huge deal. So very basic
Yes,
as far as the
those are
Mevo goes.
the
Now the
basic
beauty of it is 10-hour battery life, so you rarely ever have to charge it, unless you're doing extravagant range sessions with it.
Yeah.
In that case, maybe get a golf lesson instead.
8 hours,
Yeah.
you don't need to.
Yeah, so definitely long battery life, as you can tell, is super small. So it can fit right in your golf bag.
Yep.
And the data goes to your phone or to your tablet. We use a tablet
Yep.
because it's a little easier for the projector, but you can use your phone. You can do slow motion videos, so with new iPhones and the new cameras on them, you can get really nice video capture with it as well. So really good for the consumer, as you can tell. It's under $500, super basic, but you can even just set up like a net and a hitting mat in your garage and hit golf balls and get these same results. Exactly. Yeah, you just need the 8 feet of ball flight.
You have to have that little
Yes.
silver, you have to have the silver.
Yeah, so think of it anytime we're hitting into something that's going to stop the ball from flying,
Yeah.
we suggest this being on there within 40 yards. If it goes further than 40 yards, we don't really need to have a metallic sticker on there. But that's a very rare occurrence. Maybe the PGA show is the only time we get a setup that's similar to that. Where we have that long, if you've ever been there, the long equipment test center area where our booth
I
is.
did go a couple years ago, but I was just there for umbrellas.
Oh, sure.
The equipment, Weatherman umbrellas we were there with, so.
Very cool.
Well, very cool, yes.
Yeah, so that's the standard
So,
Mevo.
that's the standard.
Let me see. Yeah, we do have different golf balls for them. So, now important, like I said before, the Mevo Plus does track the golf ball for a longer period outside than the regular Mevo does. Another part of that is, if you're using a device with cellular data, so like if I'm connecting it with my phone, it even captures my local weather and puts that into its algorithm. So it is a lot more accurate than the standard Mevo is just for that factor alone. But then it also, because of its size, the radar panel is going to be larger. It's going to have more power to track that golf ball for a longer period of time. So this has even been attractive to LPGA Tour players, some very basic tour players that don't use a lot of data or want something that's super portable. This is where Mevo Plus even has been useful for them too. So it's a pretty big target market when you're talking about Mevo Plus in comparison to maybe even the standard Mevo or X3. It kind of hits both areas. For the lower end, it's like, this is awesome. For the higher end, it's like, well, it's kind of basic, but it still has the accuracy that I'm looking for. So it kind of gels both areas of the market, and we've had really good success with it.
Sorry, I should know this too, but I asked some different questions for you. So selling these, where are these for sale? Is it just on the website, or are they in different?
Online, third-party resellers, Amazon. Not in any retail stores.
Not in retail, like Dick's Sporting Goods.
No.
It's not.
We're looking at going there, but right now it's really just
Or
all
like Ed and
online.
Watts, any of the golf, none of those.
Right now, our margins just aren't there for them. They are a huge margin. It was more designed and sold directly. But we are in talks with them to see if we can make it work right now.
I see. Are there competitors in those stores?
Some of them are. A lot of them really is really online. A lot of this technology is online.
Yeah, so the other thing that's cool about Mevo 2 with the setup is pretty basic. The kickstand on it just has the one groove. It goes right into its slot, and you set it down and use it. We mentioned with the X3 how a little bit of it has the automatic leveling. The Mevo Plus is going to require a little bit more of the user to get it leveled correctly, with the kickstand in the back being at the right angle. When you use it for playing simulated golf courses, it actually goes at a different angle than what we do for regular golf, or when we're actually just hitting shots in the FlightScope software. So we do include a little guide to help them with the simulation software aspect. It just kind of slides right over the top of it, so that way they get to the perfect exact angle that they need to be at. And then basically all the way open, which is hardly anything, but that's actually about 4 degrees difference.
Right.
That's when we get to our
It's gonna be a
standard
big
golf.
difference though, right?
Right,
When it's
right.
over, yeah.
So that's one thing to keep in mind with Mevo Plus is as you go up with capabilities and features, it's going to become a little more technical, as it should.
Yes.
But just something that people need to be aware of, obviously. The X3 definitely having that automatic leveling does make it nice when you're using it on the golf course, or if you're having an extensive practice session where you have to constantly move the device, something like that. However, in your house, things like that, you're probably only going to have to level it out once or twice. It's not going to be anything that's too extensive, but just so that way you understand that
Okay.
part of it. Built-in camera, like we talked about, very important, makes it easier, and I'll show you how that works as soon as we launch the software, but does make it nice and easy to get aligned to a target out on the driving range, or even, as we'll see here, so you can make sure that you've got it square to the screen. Because if you line it up, incorrectly, too far to the left or too far to the right, whenever you hit those shots, it's not going to match according. It all is based on how you set this device down.
Okay.
So that is one thing that we're very critical with the customers on, is make sure that you're accurate with how you set the device up.
Right.
Our support guys will probably confirm like 95% of the issues we have is just people not understanding how to properly set it up, or just being a normal man and not reading the directions. So
You said it.
yeah. So yeah, it goes 8 feet behind, just like normal. There's a power button right on top, and this one has a few more status lights on top with battery power, and you'll see that when the radar's armed, these change a few different colors and things like that. The battery life is about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, depending which software platform you're using with it. So not quite as strong as the standard Mevo, but it is sending a lot more information back and forth. On the driving range, we combat that with like a USB, charging pack that you'd use to charge your phone, or if you're at your house, you can just plug and play.
So do you guys have a fact sheet with these details, like the battery life for each device?
Oh, yeah.
The fact sheets.
Yeah, we can show you on like comparison charts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, is it a general fact sheet that can go to media members? Is that what it is? Like an external document that?
We can create one. I don't think we have anything specific. We have like a FAQ about
Yeah.
our answer in that.
We can even create something like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Almost
have
explains the
FAQ.
technical data
Yeah,
points.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
about when you are giving media members the details, you can break it down
Yeah.
in a basic fact sheet, like you're talking about the battery comparison and
Yeah.
just
Sure.
which each one is.
Sure.
I think that's easy to have just kind of in bullet points
Yeah,
on those.
yeah.
Yeah. And so we also mentioned with standard Mevo, it utilizes Bluetooth connection. With the Mevo Plus and the X3, we actually use a Wi-Fi signal. So the devices themselves will emit a signal that either your phone, tablet, or computer would then connect to. Now, it says Wi-Fi, but it's not actual internet service. It's just for them to communicate.
Okay.
So once we get into as much data as we're capturing in the video, you can actually take a video from this device as opposed to having to use the camera
Right.
on the iPad or
It's the
phone.
same app?
It's a different app right now. It will be the same application very soon, if I'm not mistaken, right, Todd? It's all going to be on one app very, very soon.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of our big, big focuses, is getting things condensed on the software side, just to make things easier from the consumer's
Right.
perspective.
Like if you do happen to have both devices and you want to go back and forth between.
Yeah,
the
so
two,
it'll eventually filter, so it'll know, okay, you're connecting a Mevo. Here we're going to go with this. We're going to show you this much information. A Mevo Plus will show you this much information, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which it'll also make it easier from our side of things, managing the software, so that way we don't have so many different things that we're trying to
Yeah.
manage at once.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
And just, I assume it's, like you said, it's measuring more parameters, but
Right.
I don't know how, is there any difference between, like the basic 8 that they both do? They
Yeah,
should
so
be
it
the
does
same.
have the same 8 plus an additional 8 parameters. So there's nothing that one can do that this one cannot,
Right.
and vice versa with this going to the X3.
Yeah.
So that's one advantage there, and it's kind of like, we do consider, Johan might have even said it before, but he always calls the standard Mevo like the gateway drug, because as soon as you have it, then you're eventually, before you know it, you're climbing your way up the product ladder, and then all of a sudden you're buying an X3. And
Once you know what this has to offer, you wanna.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways you can connect to it. I'm going to pick it up just to show you as well. The easiest way for connection, there's a QR code right on the back. And when you launch the app, it'll have you scan the QR code. There's also a manual way, which I'm going to show you real quick. You just go into the settings of the actual iPad settings, the same as on your phone, under Wi-Fi. And you'll notice that the serial number of the Mevo Plus is right here, M2. Same thing with the X3. So they're both just a network that you connect to. And if it ever asks you for a password, it's always the same as the serial number. So it's something that you'll never have to worry about trying to remember.
Okay. Cool.
And then all you have to do is open the software. I'm going to close out that session. We were making sure that these were working earlier. And this is what your landing screen will look like.
Okay.
So, very similar. Going to be a little bit more extravagant with the capabilities with our settings, but the nice part with Mevo Plus and X3 with the FS Golf software is when you start a session, it forces you right into the settings screen. So it makes you verify all of your indoor-outdoor settings. You can see the tilt and roll of the device now comes into play. You can see as you update this, so as I move the device around, you'll see that those numbers will update and they might go, even into the red zone. As you can see, the tilt now is not anywhere near where it needs to be, so it's going to change red. So that way, if you're out on the range, you can get live feedback and make sure that you're, within the green zones of acceptable tilt and roll, which can then be, make sure that you're also capturing accurate
So long
data.
as it's green, you're good.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
There isn't like a recommend.
Yeah, we do have recommended tilt. Roll, obviously, we want it to be as flat as possible from that perspective. The tilt, you want to be around 17, 18 degrees with our software. With the simulation software, it gets flattened up to 12 degrees, so that way it can also capture putting. And then we've got the target alignment. So like I was talking about the built-in camera on it, there's the view you get of the camera right there. So as we're in our indoor setup, I would set my ball down kind of in the middle of my hitting mat, and then I would just kind of align this not only through the golf ball, but I can even see the lines on the screen. I just almost try to line everything up directly on top of each other.
So if you're on the range though and don't have the screen,
Yeah,
you don't have that line.
Yeah, you would find a flag or maybe a tree on the back side of the range or something that you could then align it to. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you'll even notice as we go to the X3, the camera even gets a little better for that purpose as well. You can zoom in and out and it just makes things a little nicer. But obviously instructor versus consumer, again, there's certain things that we do have to downgrade in the lower level devices as well. We can do multiple players. We can change our equipment. So if we want to choose like what clubs are in our golf bag, we can edit all of that to be as customizable as we'd like to. Even though this is technically a consumer product, there's a lot of golf professionals that still buy this. They still use it for golf club fittings. They use it for their everyday instructional business. So even though that it's labeled as a consumer product, we have a lot of features that are useful for golf professionals.
To country clubs for club fittings and stuff like that? Do individual golf courses and country clubs use it?
Oh yeah. I think with its price point, there's golf courses that buy 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. That way, every instructor has a piece of technology. Maybe they can't afford, an X3 or a higher-end launch monitor, and so, but they can afford, 3 or 4, even 2 of the, lower level ones, and just suffer on the amount of data as opposed to having to suffer with accuracy with other products.
Yeah, the majority of them are sold to amateur golfers, people that want entertainment, they want data. This is really the teaching and fitting model, and the reason for that is the pro package data. You talked about the pro package. Because this one offers that data for lessons in fitting. That one doesn't really give everything. So
Right.
some instructors can use it if they're just, they're teaching maybe not as good a player.
Right.
Things
Right.
like that. But if you want like your face angle and the putt path that is coming over top of it, or they, too far into out, whatever the case is, you need all of that data, which the X3 provides, and then the Mevo Plus Pro package will provide.
Right. Right. Perfect. We use standard sea level. So then it drives you right into a setting or a session, like I said. You said 6-iron, I think, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So now it's ready to hit a shot. So you can see the interface gives you a little bit better view, almost like a normal golf simulator that you just see. So this would just be you at the driving range. You hit shots. So let's go ahead and just hit a couple of shots here. Again, the main thing, we just want to make sure the metallic sticker faces towards the screen. That way it doesn't get ripped off. After a while, you're just like us. You realize you don't even realize that those stickers are on the ball.
Right.
Just almost becomes second nature. Yeah. The other thing that you'll realize too, if you've ever hit on other golf simulators, is the speed. So this is something that we promote with the products, especially with Mevo Plus and X3, is by the time the shot hits the screen, you're already seeing some type of result on that screen. So some of the competitors like a SkyTrack or even some of the higher systems that have like a sensor in the floor, they're very slow. So you hit the shot, and then you sit there and you wait for 3 or 4 seconds while it figures out what happens, and then it shows you the result. So from a user standpoint, it's not really the best experience because you're hitting and you're waiting, as opposed to this feels more like real golf.
Right.
Where as soon as you hit that ball and it hits the screen, you're seeing the result for everything.
Yeah, that is.
So
Yeah,
16
right here,
pieces
you're
of
at
data.
15 yards.
Yeah, so 16 pieces of data. Yeah, go ahead and hit another shot. A little better. It's a little behind the ball though. Just here.
Yeah.
Perfect. See, the other thing I can tell, I can just see that with the angle of attack, you've got a plus a degree angle of attack. So the club's hitting behind the ball and then bouncing up into it, we can see before impact. So you see that your data parameter AOA, that stands for angle of attack. That tells us basically how the golf club is coming into the golf ball. So if it's a descending blow, that would be a negative number, which is what we would want with an iron, which means you're hitting the ball and then the ground. That being a positive means that the club was hitting up on the golf ball. That's what you would want with a driver, but not so much with an iron. It just means that the club is probably bouncing. Like you said, you hit it a little fat there is all. It's no problem. There we go. Yeah. Much better. Perfect. So you can see some of the data along the bottom of your screen. So you get the carry distance, roll distance, that angle of attack there. So you hit the golf ball there first a little bit, which is good. Gives a much higher ball speed. Your smash factor automatically goes up. Vertical launch angle, that's going to be the launch with V. So that tells you the... So the smash factor is actually, it's just a division problem of the ball speed divided by the club head speed. And that just tells you how efficient the strike was. So the higher the ball speed versus club speed, that ratio will increase. It's different maximums with every single golf club because there are maximum thresholds that you can reach with it. For reference, a perfect driver shot is 1.50 with a driver ball speed to club speed ratio. Where 6-iron is, I think, closer to 139. I think 139 is perfect with a 6-iron, so that's pretty dang close. Yeah, that one was pretty close to the center of the club face there. You get the launch angle, so how the angle at which it launches off the club face, the vertical and horizontal, and then your club speed, the height of the shot, the amount of time that the ball is in the air. The spin loft, which tells you the difference between the loft that you're presenting to the club and then the difference that the ball actually comes off of the golf club. Horizontal launch, like we said. Spin axis, which actually tells you how much the ball is moving, like left to right, so it tells you the angle that it's spinning on. Lateral distance and total distance. And then, of course, the shot type, so it's a little draw.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, then you can reorder those in any order you'd like, so that way you don't have to go searching for it.
The what? Sorry.
So you can reorder these, so if you like them in a specific order, it's all customizable. That way you don't have to kind of search for the data after every shot.
So like you were saying that Excel document from so like that Excel could be those 3 shots I just hit.
Yeah.
Comparing the thing.
Yeah, so you can see the 3 of them. You can see the deviation in the shots. If there's a shot that you don't like, you can delete it. I mean, you can even see from not only from the back view, but we can actually show it over the top of the driving range as well. And then we can do all shots, so you can see all 3 of them, and then you can even put a grouping screen into them, so you can tell, which group, maybe if you're doing a club comparison,
Right.
or, if you go through your bag, you hit like 5 shots with each club, you can kind of see, oh, well, my 6-iron's all over the place, but the rest of my clubs are pretty good, so I just need to work on my 6-iron swings, things like that. Everything's very visual.
Right.
That's kind of what we provide is a very
That's
visual
very addicting, right?
learning experience.
Once you get in there,
Yeah. Well, especially,
analyze
I heard you guys talk a little bit about the partnership with the AJGA. They know these things better than anybody. I mean, they grow up just like, children with iPads watching, education. This is the same concept. So, I mean, half the time we set it down and we don't even have to teach them how to use it. They're almost showing us how to use it. That's how, advanced they are with these type of systems. So it is pretty impressive. just how much they utilize the technology already. And
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are 12,
Yeah, so
13,
it's not
14
really,
years
it's nothing
old.
you need to convince them as a
No,
players,
it's
they
almost a
don't
necessity
wanna-
at this point with
Yeah.
the way that they are brought up with their practicing and their training. And, you know, even like Alex says with his son all the time, it's almost like they're just seeing it as we make the investment now and hopefully they can get a college education and then it all kind of evens out in the end. And, you know, geez, the technology also makes it a little entertaining for them too
Right.
because they can have a golf simulator in their garage now. So they're so dual purpose that it's not just, well, we're buying this for him, it's just his practice tool. Well, no, actually the whole family can get entertainment value out of it too. So it definitely makes it easier sales pitch to the
Yep.
to the mothers of the group as well, because they're usually the financial managers of everything.
Yes, exactly. Like, wait, we're gonna spend what? Yeah.
But there's one more setting that we have in here. It's called our data margin settings. And what this allows us to do, so let's say that we've got a 6-iron. Let's say, you know, maybe we want to hit this club, let's just say for reference, between 150 and 160 yards. So I'm trying to train myself to learn to hit that club 150 to 160 yards. Okay, I'm going to make this 6-iron. And we can do this for as many parameters as we wanted to. So let's say we also wanted to add in the spin rate. We want that to be somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000, just for reference, okay? So what these allow you to do is set a fence on each side of the data parameter. So when you're within the zone, it lights it up green. When you're outside the zone, it gets you to red. So again, more visual things here. Let's say if I want to practice on a certain data parameter and I want to set my constraints really high and then slowly shrink them down so you can almost dial yourself in without really having to, you know, you're just almost mimicking or changing things and you're just looking to, you know, make the screen all green or, you know, eliminate as many of the red tiles as possible.
Right.
The cool part is it not only does it here, but it also does it in the spreadsheet. So again, very visual.
right,
Yeah,
it
it's
goes
very
through.
visual, but you don't just have to do that like with the carry distance is what I'm trying to say. You can do it with any data parameter. You know, once you get into the X3 or when we unlock the future data parameters with the Mevo Plus, the big thing with that will be controlling like the club path and the face angles and all of that. And so you can basically slowly shrink yourself down instead of having to go, okay, I need my club to fly 165. I'm going to hit it till it's perfect, till it's perfect. Well, now we can start wide, and we can just slowly shrink things down. And you're training yourself slowly and gradually, as opposed to trying to just jump to a specific number.
Right.
It's a lot harder than it sounds to do.
Well, it is
so.
just nice. Well, and I'm just thinking about this format. It is nice to see the different shots right next to each other.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, and you can say, okay,
Right.
boom, 1 out of 3. Okay, well we got to work
Right.
on a few things here. Okay, well I didn't strike the first 2. I was just warming up. You know, things like that. So it just gives you, like I said, it's quick, it's easy, and not only that, but if you have an Apple Watch, it'll show up on your Apple Watch. If you have AirPods, it'll relay the distances to your AirPods. So similar to the last app that speaks, this one speaks also. Text to speech. It's just not on. So after shot, it'll tell you the carry distance, or it'll tell you the spin rate, or whatever you're working on. It'll relay that information back to you as well. So you can have your other connected devices in the area. The watch is really cool for me too, because as an instructor, you know, if you're using like your iPad and that's your camera taking videos, now I don't have to run over to my iPad and look at just to see what one of the data parameters. I can just take a quick glance at my watch real quick. It can keep doing its thing and just makes it more efficient then at the end of the day.
Right. And so what are the additional 8 again that you said with this one?
Yeah, so let's see. Carry, club speed, ball speed, launch, spin, smash, height. So those first 8 are all available with the standard Mevo. So after flight time, this is where all the additional 8 are. So it's going to be angle of attack, the spin loft, horizontal launch angle, the spin axis of the golf ball, the roll and total distance, and then the lateral distance the ball lands, and then the type of shot it is.
And
So those 8 parameters are mostly just so we can capture a 3D ball flight now. And that's the main concept behind it, is we had to be able to have a simulation solution. So we had to be able to get the spin axis of the golf ball so we can tell the curvature of it. As you probably already know now, there's going to be even more capabilities with this device. It has been capable. We've been trying to dial it in a little bit, make sure everything's calibrated accordingly. But that's going to be massive when we release that, just to be able to have that price point.
The press release that you're announcing with the upgrade, you can just review that again. Now that I kind of know the two, if you can give me a recap one more time of, like, the meat of that press release of the
Yeah.
upgrade.
So that's a package that Mevo Plus customers that we have now, as well as new customers, can purchase as an add-on essentially. So it's going to be $1,000, and they can add that on to their Mevo Plus. So they'll have everything the Mevo Plus comes with, and on top of that, they'll get that additional 9 data parameters. And so basically they'll have everything that X3 does except for like the short game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the big one is what we call D-plane data, which is the D-plane.
Mm-hmm.
So club path, face to path, face to target, vertical and horizontal swim planes, tight angle loft.
Yeah, basically the fitting aspect of it is the
Yeah.
biggest part of it. Yeah, we'll go through a few of those things when we get there. But yeah, there's some visual stuff like we were talking about. There's some really cool visual stuff with X3, which really breaks things down pretty impressively. Which you'll easily see a big difference. Yeah.
So yeah, here's the like the environmental optimizers unique.
Yep. I want to show her the skills app on this as well real quick. So the beauty of Mevo Plus, like I said, not only simulation, not only just the driving ranges, but we actually have our skills application, which just puts targets on the screen. So instead of just hitting to an open field, you know, you can develop your own skills competitions. Like we have the build a custom game. So you can, like what I do when I go out to practice, if I take Mevo Plus or X3 with me, I'll set down the device, I'll get to my range stall, and then I'll just look for a flag. So maybe I want to work on like my 150-yard shot. I'll find a flag around that distance. Let's say it's like, you know, 163. I'll actually just build a custom game of one target at 163 yards for 25 shots, and then at least I virtually have a target, and it can capture a lot more statistical data that I like to look at.
Okay.
But again, just kind of makes it more of a creative
Yeah.
practice at the end of the day.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, we have quick play options within there, which you can see different types of targets. So there's like circular targets, there's radial zone targets, and then there's like fairway size targets that you can play on. I'll build a custom one so you can kind of see how that works too. So let's just do a test. You can enter if you want a timer on there with the No Mercy timer. You can choose if you want the targets to come in a sequential order with how you build them, or if it's just like randomized. So you could go from hitting like a 20-yard shot to a full driver, just like you kind of do on the golf course type of thing. And then your altitude, and if you want it to be a very firm and fast terrain or soft and slow like we have in Florida here. So. The target creation is really cool. So not only can we choose, like I said, the type of target, so we have the radial targets, which it's not like in my fingertip. There we go. So radial target. So this basically eliminates almost the accuracy, and it's just basically gauging you on distance control. And then we have our fairway grid, which just takes into account the carry distance, so it doesn't let the ball roll out. It's just wherever the ball lands. And then we have the fairway grid total distance, which will incorporate the rollout of the golf ball. Nice part about these is across the top you have different colors of zone. If I tap on them, you'll see the highlighted kind of switch on there. You can choose the zone size as well.
Okay.
So you can make these targets very custom, however you see fit doing so. I think we got, maybe let's go like 140 with that club the way you hit them. Good. You can choose the diameter of it. You can choose if it's offset left or right. So it's almost like kind of a virtual Topgolf, scenario at the end of the day. Obviously it can change every day as the driving range changes with your distances and things, but you can always go back and edit them. Or if you're an instructor who has a permanent structure on the driving range, which is pretty common, you can set these targets up, and have your own FlightScope challenge at your golf course. So it can be really cool for social media capabilities. We've done contests, I think, a few times, haven't we, Tyler? Where we can actually host live competitions, and through myflightscope.com, the users can actually load the challenge in and play from their house.
That's cool.
So it is a really cool way where we can interact with the customer base. I think we've done a Bubba Watson one even, where we made like the target like way off to the left and tried to hit like a big like swinging like Bubba shot into the target and stuff like that. So it's a really cool app, not only for practice and purpose, but also the engagement we can make with the clients through social media and things like that. And honestly, we don't really have to do anything with it. We set it up and we choose when it's published and how long it's published for. And they literally just go to the FlightScope cloud of myflightscope.com, add it into their playbook and play it as many times as they want to, and then it keeps a live leaderboard online and stuff like that. So
Very cool.
it is really cool how it brings them and us together, just through the internet that way. So that's where you can see the publish challenge. Like if I wanted to publish it and make it available for everybody, I could. I can save it, or I just play it now. And then from like a clinic or like an instructional standpoint, with junior golfers, you can play with up to 4 people at a time. So if you want to get a little competition going within, you can do that too. And this one also talks to you. So let's go ahead and hit another one. Evo ball. Perfect. Yeah, so anywhere within 140 to 160 to 120, it'll pretty much. If you'd want to, it doesn't matter. You want a little less golf club, maybe?
7.
Yeah. Let me grab this. There it is. I'll switch you. There we go. Perfect. So we got 5 shots. So let's go ahead and hit 5 of them. Let me grab these balls here.
I see. So then that's where, that is my ball right there.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we can even do here. This one will be cooler. So go ahead and hit another shot. This is just a different viewpoint on it when you hit the shot. All right. Perfect. This one's dot is here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm waiting for you.
All right, there we go.
5 points.
All right. All right. Just outside.
Shoot.
All right, one more.
One more.
We'll show you the results you get with it are pretty cool too. So. One left, one right. Okay, perfect. So you'd finish the challenge, and then it gives you this really cool analysis. So from that distance, so normally if you did 6, 10, 12 targets, within those distances you'd get a full bar graph here. And this is your comparison to a PGA Tour player. So between 125 to 150 yards, you're within the 58th percentile basically. In comparison. Now you can also kind of see your averages in comparison to the PGA Tour players. Not only that, but it even shows you, more statistical data. Obviously if you have more targets, it fills in a little bit more of this information for you. And then not only that, but we can kind of see the data in a few different screens. Just like we saw before. You can actually pull up these targets. You can see those 4 shots. See the other one's just off to the right there on the kind of middle bottom right. And you can go through the shots. 2, 3. There's your good one there, right in the center. All the data that we captured in the other app is still here along the bottom.
Okay.
So you're not losing any ability to capture any of the data even though you're using a different app.
Okay.
Just have to almost see it there on the bottom of the screen. Doesn't have as many of the like the Excel spreadsheet screen type, the table screen. This is definitely more of the gaming software for us.
Right.
But just gives them a little more purpose, like I said, as opposed to just an open driving range.
I think it's gonna be really good for junior golfers.
It gets addicting.
Junior golfers.
Yeah.
And, my son's 11. He would be loving this.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
All ages, but
Yeah, and it still has the camera alignment, so you can still align it to a camera out on the driving range just like before. You know, a lot of the same features are going to be there as you switch from our apps to the different applications, but you know, it's just almost different options of what you want to utilize the device for, as opposed to them operating in a completely different manner.
Right.
So it is nice to, you know, from a user standpoint, is once you kind of understand how to run one of the devices, you can run all of them type of thing. So, you know, as you go through from our products, like if you're an X2 user and you buy an X3, the transition's very easy. You know, some people are almost scared because they're worried, well, I got all this new software I've got to worry about. But, you know, even going from Mevo to Mevo Plus, you see a lot of the similarities, making things very easy. And that's our main goal, is to make it as easy to use as possible.
Yeah, and
So
I
once you
think
talk
for sure
about
once you start
technology.
using it a couple, you know, once you start using it.
That's the
Really,
biggest
yeah,
thing.
it's just getting
It's like riding a bike at that point. I mean, the more you do it, the better you'll be
Yeah.
at it. So, but that's the skills application. That's both for X3 and for Mevo Plus.
Okay.
The other thing that the Mevo Plus will do, which I did mention, I want to show it to you on the Mevo Plus, is the simulation. So this is where you play golf courses. Has a few gaming pieces on there as well, like a game that you can play. Let me see, we are connected. However, this is going to change our setup just slightly, into where we basically just need to switch that up to 12 degrees. So you just use your little guide and you're good to go. So it is very simple. Again, just knowing that's how it works. But
Right.
that way you don't have to fiddle with it trying to get to the correct you know, information. We still have our target alignment just like before. Now Mevo Plus and X3, they come with 5 golf courses. So right out of the box, you have an activation card that gives you this software with 5 courses to play on, like an iPad is what runs the software. Those are for life. You never have to pay for them. You never have to worry about an annual fee, anything like that.
5
You just
courses,
own them.
you said?
Yeah, 5 courses. Now those courses are subject to change, so they might rotate in different golf courses here or there, just in case, you know, they lose the licensing to one of them or something like that. Or they just want to change it up and give you a different golf course to play, which is always nice, then they don't go bland on you.
Yeah.
You can get subscriptions to get more golf courses, or the ability to run that software like on a gaming PC, so that way the presentation's a little bit, you know, better as far as the graphics go.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't really enhance the you know, the ability of capturing the data, anything like that. It's literally just for aesthetics at the end of the day.
Okay.
There's some practice facilities that come with it. There's 4 different driving ranges, and then there's 13 different like chipping and putting scenarios that they put you in, like it's like behind a rock or, you know, things like that. But definitely more of a simulation aspect as opposed to a technical aspect. So it's not going to save all your shots as you hit them. It's just going to show you data for the last shot that you hit. So there are simulation venues, you know, that are like a simulator bar almost concept, that are using these devices for that.
Right.
Golf courses that you know, want to run simulator leagues in the winter time. That's why a big portion of golf courses are buying these in as well. And then the consumer, obviously, is the biggest target market with this. In your garage, in your spare bedroom that you're not using, you can build your own golf simulator on a budget now.
Right.
So. But very simple, as you can see, the buttons that they make it very simple on what you want to do. You know, the game actually is pretty, let me clear Adgust. So you can do close to the pin, or this blackout game, which is kind of cool. You actually just like hit golf balls in there. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's almost like pinball. It just racks up points based on the things that you hit type of thing, which I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually play it before. So let's see. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah. Perfect.
Well, now, am I just hitting it straight? Or
Yeah, so any of the targets, or even if it lands on any of the bottom spots, it even picks up points for you. I just don't think it's as many. Like, I think once you hit anything out in the far distance, it actually picks up more. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. See, so it picks up 5 points each time it bounces in a different spot. Yep. So yeah, so you can see how it just kind of incorporates more of a gaming aspect to it. But they give you that for free. So you get the game, you get the courses, all that's for free. So again, kind of appeals to all aspects of the household for the junior players and stuff like that. Now, we're not just integrated with this software. There's 5 or 6 different software companies that we integrate with. They just come at additional costs. So you either pay their annual fee or their one-time purchase price and then put it onto a PC or the iPad, depending which software it is, and then just run the software. So it's still capturing all of our data.
Right.
Still still just as accurate as using our apps, but we're just sending that information then into their interface, basically.
I see. So are you guys able to, like, get all the numbers on how many people are actually playing these games? Like people who, like, I guess, like people who buy these and how many people are using these games on a daily basis or a monthly basis?
I
or,
assume
like,
that E6 can probably pull some of that information.
We'd have to be able to do that because
it's third party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just be interested to know, like, if that's something that is well used or needs promotion as
Sure.
part of it, you know, because I can.
you could do a survey too to see how many people are using the game.
Yeah,
Well,
because.
I think the majority of people play courses.
Yeah, they mainly are playing the courses,
Yeah.
which that's basically what they're mainly buying them for. I feel like the people who buy them, they're not like using it for like every capability. They're buying it for like one sole purpose,
Yeah.
and then like they might one-off use it for the others
try
here and
something
there.
else.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
having a party or something.
Right. right.
Try the gaming part.
Yeah, exactly,
Um,
exactly.
Yeah, this is cool.
But yeah, very cool. You know, the other, like I said, the reaction time, the cost, the no reoccurring fees, we have an advantage on the competition on every single one of those areas. So it does give us an ability to upsell without having to, you know, really
That's what
try
we were
that
talking
hard.
about earlier, right? The no recurring fees and the no monthly,
Yeah.
no subscription.
Yeah, we're in a great spot as far as the market goes because we still have the accuracy, and that's the thing is we've been in the space longer than anybody else. So you know we just have to make sure that our customers understand that aspect of it, and they also get you know a company with a great support system as far as the technical support team. That, as I'm sure you've probably experienced with technology companies, at times can be very frustrating.
Yes.
So that's something that we spend a lot of our time and a lot of our commitment to is to ensuring that that aspect of the business is
Right.
highly regarded as
People
important to
have
us.
questions,
So
they
yeah,
want them
definitely.
answered, yeah.
Well, and not only that, but just in a short amount of time, and you know, I get as frustrated with electronics as well. So imagine people who don't follow the directions or don't
Right.
don't know how to utilize the technology. That's what we're up against.
And do
so.
you guys have any data on where most units are being sold, like which country
Yeah.
and all that?
Definitely the U.S.
It is the U.S. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got an updated one.
Yeah, I'm just curious about like the Asian market or European market, like.
I think the in-home market definitely U.S. because not every country has garages the size that we do.
Yeah.
Like I think in the UK, Europe area, that's where we run into a lot of problem with home use, is people don't have the indoor space to do it.
That's interesting.
Most
Or
of them will
even-
set it
or
up in
even
their backyard, their garden, as they like to call it.
Yeah. Or cities like Tokyo where everything's
Yeah, everything's on top
tight.
of each
Yeah,
other.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think part of it's on us a little bit too. We're way more established here. Like our owner is here. Madeline came from South Africa when they came to the U.S. She came with them. So we've been here a lot longer.
Okay.
Those other areas we use distributors. Japan we have our own team, but it's only like 3 or 4 people right now. So we're growing in other areas, but here we've just been here longer. We have a bigger team.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Americans are more used to
Yeah, exactly.
spend money on things like this is the
Yeah, I
other
didn't
part
know
of
how
it.
much you guys were promoting in other countries as well.
We're growing a lot in the UK and Europe right now. We just hired a big PR agency in Europe.
Oh, okay.
PR, digital media, media buying. So they're going to be running all of that for our Europe team now. So
Okay.
we hired 2 full-time people in the UK. So
Yeah, that's
we're
good.
growing a little more, growing there as well.
That's great. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, that basically covers everything with the Mevo Plus. So you can see it's definitely got a lot more features than the regular Mevo does. It sounds like a lot when you say it's 4 times the cost, but it's still under $2,000 for a sophisticated device like that. It's pretty rare. Not only just from the simulation capabilities, but then when you add in all of the instructional capabilities you can do with it, or even just as a general user, videos and the data capture, and then you add in simulation capabilities, it's really impressive. Plus when we add added data packages to it and stuff, there's really not going to be much to compete with.
Right.
There are some new devices that were just released into the market to kind of compete with it at a slightly higher price point, and they're still not going to offer as much data as this will once we have the. I mean, even right now, I think even the new Bushnell stuff, they're at like 10 or 12 pieces of data that you get with every swing, and they're more expensive. So we can continue to pitch to them. You know, we still got the
Right.
cheapest
So you guys
product
gotta
with the
keep an
most
eye
data
on
at the
when
highest
they're
accuracy. Oh yeah.
Products.
Yeah, we follow the forums, online forums and stuff like that pretty closely. So not only just to like kind of see what they're saying about other groups, but what they're saying about us too.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't announce ourselves and stuff in there, because a lot of the groups require us to do so. Like if we're commenting on something, we say, oh, we're from FlightScope. Here's the answer to your questions. Because we get a lot of technical support that we funnel through there as well. Just because some people don't like to pick up the phone and make that phone call. They'd rather try to ask another user,
Right.
have you experienced this? Instead of what's the correct way to do this? Have you found, I don't want to say lazy, but an easier way for me to find the answer to get through this without having to call them type of thing.
I know. I think people now
Yeah.
are so lazy online. They don't want
Well,
to
and
find accurate information.
there's some companies out there that have given every technology company a bad name, thinking, okay, we're going to have to go through a 6-page automated voice system just so I can. When you call us, it's like, okay, wait for our sales. It's a real person that you talk to.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way, in my opinion, too. Is you're not sitting there talking to a robot. You actually talk to a real person. Now, they might be in South Africa or in Poland or in the U.S., but it's a real person.
Yeah.
And that's nice, too. And we're available at all hours throughout normal business operating throughout the U.S. So if you're on the Pacific Coast, you can still call us after, after work, and you'll still get a hold of us type of thing. So that's nice to have as well.
So, yeah. So the X2 is no longer, right? This is the progression.
Yeah, so
X1,
that's actually
X2.
X2 Elite. So that was 2015, the same as the XI series.
And those are no longer, because now it's the
Correct.
X3?
Yeah. So
Okay.
X3 is came after the X2 Elite. The original X2 was 2012.
Okay.
That was 2015. This was 2019.
19.
So it's about every 4 to 5 years
Okay.
for a high-level products that we replace them with a newer technology. Now, we did have an original X3 come out in 2017. We upgraded it to this one with a better battery. We took like 2-3 pounds off the weighting of it to make it a little more portable. And then the biggest thing we did was we matched the branding. So it actually used to be almost like that teal color that you see on the back. The whole face of it was all white. And the problem that we had is when we had tour players on TV, all you would see was just like this white bar, and it wasn't clear enough to tell that was like
What
a
it
flight
was,
scope.
right,
And so now you at least see like the color contrast, and then you can see it clear as
brand
day.
recognition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus it matches
That's
us across the
old
board.
logo up there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we changed our logo at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
Updated the Shield logo, and then we matched it not only across our golf products, but then as well in baseball and softball and track and field. So from a marketing standpoint, everything is uniform and nice and neat, and makes Jordan happy because everything matches each other.
Yes. That's good. It's all about the branding, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's the Mevo Plus.
Plus.
Yeah, power button on top again. It shuts
Okay.
itself down. Again, the biggest downfall, the biggest critic on this is its battery life.
Yeah. You said 2 hours?
Yeah, an hour and a half probably is being more accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, so we almost tell every golf instructor, if we know we're getting it for that, just to get a USB charger for it. You'll never have it die on you type of thing. But that's something with that we're looking at, I think, for future.
It
Is
says on
it?
the back Mevo Plus, right? Or no, where your hand is?
It does. Yeah, it does say
Okay.
Mevo Plus.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what says Mevo right there.
Yep. Now, I'm not sure if the new products, if they're going to eliminate that Mevo Plus on there, because there is going to be more data coming out with them, or I'm not sure what they're planning to do. It's kind of right at the end where they're making those final decisions type of thing too. Now X3, as you can see, it gets a little heavier, a little more bulky, but there's quite a
See
bit.
how
Of
heavy it
course, yeah. Now it feels heavier than it is. It's only about 7.5 pounds.
But touring pros carry this with them as part of
Yeah, and as far as comparison to the TrackMan device, it's actually made out of plastic. It sheds about 0.5 pound off of it is all. So even like the TrackMan devices, they always say that they're so much lighter. It's only about 0.5 pound. And it's the fact that everything's plastic on the casing where ours is metal. So more durable, especially for traveling to and from.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's
mounting.
also kind of a nice little handle to grip it with
Yeah.
there too. So still pretty small. I mean, realistically, you're talking $15,000 worth of technology right here.
Right.
You know, it can fly on an airplane just like any of the other devices are. So they're all, you know, approved to go on an airplane. But like I mentioned, the biggest difference is the automatic leveling with this device. So when you take it out to the golf course or even in here, you literally just open up the back leg and set it down, and it does everything else for you.
And
So-
this one you said has to be further back, like you said?
Yeah,
not-
we don't have to. We can go as close as 8 feet if we'd like to. With our devices, the more distance we have, the better, just because we have more distance to track everything indoors. So the further we have, the more information we'll be able to capture accurately. You know, 1, 2, 3 feet may not sound like a whole lot, but that can be an entire revolution of the golf ball. See how much faster or slower it's spinning, things like that. So everything that we can get into the
inside-
distance
so is this
capability, we
leveling,
can.
So like on the driving range, is it leveling? Do you have to stand there for it to be leveling from where you are?
No,
or
no.
is
So
it-
it's going to level to the terrain that it's sitting on, has a gyroscope, just like your phone. Like when you turn it sideways, it knows that you're turning it sideways, it re-levels. Same thing with that. It'll understand if it's on uneven terrain. Even if I pick it up and adjust it, it'll then again auto re-level to the terrain.
Okay.
So very sophisticated. The lights on the top, battery status, connection status, all those things. It again uses Wi-Fi to connect with the computers or the tablets or phones. You can use a cabled connection if you're in like an indoor studio where you can plug an Ethernet cable into it just for faster results, things like that. And then the big part about this with our PC software is you can incorporate like USB cameras, similar like what we even have here. You could hook all those cameras up for like a professional studio for teaching lessons and things like that, which you'll see kind of as we dive into the software where that's affected and stuff. You'll notice as we go through the software capabilities of this device, definitely geared a lot more towards instructional and club fitting capabilities. Everything is going to be a lot more technical. There's a lot more data. So as far as full swing capabilities, it goes up to 28 pieces of data as opposed to 16 with the Mevo Plus. And then you get putter and chipping data as well, so it goes all the way up to 53 pieces of data. So it's pretty. It's a lot of people. That's overkill for some people, but for some people that's not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to find different parameters that aren't even out there yet. That they're trying to figure out ways in which you can measure it. Yeah, exactly,
And more.
exactly.
Yeah.
So just like Mevo Plus, it also has QR code for connection. On this one, we actually just placed it on the side.
Okay.
So that's something that was also new with it, the QR connection, making that super simple, fast for people to connect to it out on the range, wherever it may be.
Yep.
Again, you can also do the manual connection type. Just because I'm corded up over here, I just do that for this purpose today. But yeah, again, it just looks for the serial number, just like before. And let's see if it'll connect. There we go. Now it can use that same software we were just using with Mevo Plus, and that's what it eventually will have everything. All these softwares are being pushed into FS Golf. But for the time being, we're using what's called our FSVX software. Now this is what's used for fitting, teaching, that capability. You can even hear it kind of re-level based on the software, based on if we're indoor, outdoor, that goes to a different tilt. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people like to call it like R2D2 because they can hear it moving around. Just like Mevo Plus, we've got the camera alignment. Biggest difference here, like I said, you can zoom in and out with it. You know, you even have this little joystick here where you can finally adjust to a target out on the range. So it gives you a little more capabilities with that built-in camera. But again, we're going quite a bit up in price. So some of these features should be there in my honest opinion. But just gives the user a little easier setup out on the driving range so they don't have to, you know, measure everything out, things like that.
Yeah.
We go anywhere from 8 to 12 feet behind the teeing area. We need at least 8 feet of ball flight. This will track over 400 yards of full flight. I think it goes up to 480 yards of full flight that it will track for. So it definitely has a lot longer tracking capability. So we don't publicly advertise Mevo or Mevo Plus how far they go, but for your reference, Mevo Plus goes just about to like the height of the shot, so it can go out, you know, 70, 80, 90 yards sometimes. The standard Mevo goes for about 20 to 30 yards. So Mevo Plus tracks it for quite a
No,
bit
the
difference.
total distance, is that what you're saying? The total distance?
Yeah, so the track, it'll actually measure it for that far, and then it'll calculate the remainder. Whereas this one, it'll track all the way until it lands.
Tracks, okay.
Yeah. So as far as accuracy goes, this is going to be like within half a yard. The Mevo Plus is going to be within 3 to 4 yards at a 250-yard distance.
Okay.
And then the standard Mevo is going to be within 4 to 5 yards at 200 yards. So they're still relatively really accurate when you're talking about a fraction of the price. But you can see as you get to the top of the line, we're really leaving no stone unturned. I mean, it literally does everything. Yeah. And that's where the tour players, that's where the club fitters and teachers, they want that pure accuracy of, all the way until it lands. Whether it's windy. Now, I'll show you the environmental optimizer. We can even ignore if there's a wind outside. We can add wind. We can change the temperature. We can change the humidity. It's incredible.
Yeah, wow.
So we have a few different functions with it. The first function I'll show you is very, very basic. This is meant definitely for golf instructors or even people like Bryson who are doing like a bunch of speed training, trying to get their club head speed up. You may have seen things that are called a super speed stick, which is like a training aid. It's like a weighted speed stick, or even if you just swing golf club, like don't even hit a ball right now. Just swing your club in front of the radar.
Just like a full swing?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So it gives you your club head speed and then your vertical and horizontal swing planes, which basically tell you your angle of the shaft to the ground and the club face as the club bottoms out. But this is a way that you could do speed training without actually hitting a golf ball. If you have like the weighted sticks and stuff and you want to try swinging them, it just gives you another purpose that you can then utilize this software to do so.
Yeah, wasn't Bryson's mile per hour this weekend a long drive, something crazy?
Yeah, he was like up in the high 140s. Yeah, yeah, it's insane. Now, just like before, we can change our golf bags out, put any equipment we want in there. So if we're doing club comparisons, or if I'm a club fitter and I want to compare, this club versus this club and see the statistic differences, you can do so. Again, our software, we try to make it as customizable as possible because every person uses the technology in different forms, different fashions. And it kind of allows you to set everything up to be successful, and then you don't have to worry about trying to find things throughout the lesson. You can make it how you want it to be, what you want to look for, what you're used to seeing, whether that's extremely technical or whether that's extremely basic. It just gives you the option of how to lay everything out that way. Just like, like a school teacher. Every school teacher teaches in a different fashion or a different way. It's the same thing with golf. Some teachers are very much by the book, very technical. Some of them are very much, they hardly look at the technology, but they like to have it there as a backup type of thing. Now, as we get into a session, you'll see it looks very similar to the last software that we were in with Mevo Plus. Kind of just an open driving range, nothing too crazy. We are going to have to switch our golf balls out. Our Mevo series and our X series, they use a different type of metallic sticker. They look exactly the same, but they're just a slightly different material. So they're literally nothing different.
You can tell the difference between them?
We just have X's on the
X's
balls.
on them.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, you can tell.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and just hit 3 shots for me real quick, and we can see everything on the data screen for us that we'll need to see. Big logo on that ball. Perfect. Okay. So one big thing that we've got different here, as you look on the screen, as I move the screen, this is all in a 3D picture. So it kind of gives us a little bit of ability to kind of manipulate the screen in a few different ways. We have more data, as you can see along the bottom. So we get things like the club path and the face angles of the golf club as it goes through. Not only do we get that kind of in a number, but we get a really cool visual of it here in our club analysis screen now. So as you can see from an instructional and club fitting side of things, this makes the visuals really easy for the student to kind of see what's happening as their club goes through impact.
Yeah.
So if you didn't understand what some of the data parameters meant, this kind of puts a picture to them.
Right.
So
Yeah,
V-plane is kind,
personally.
if you can see here, vertical swing plane is that angle between the shaft and the ground. Okay, so that's a 60-degree angle. So that kind of tells you where your hands are at relative to the ground, your face angle, your club path. We could even break it down a little bit more to show this. So you can see
The three.
your angle of attack here in red. So if you look at the red angle here, the red angle of attack, you're hitting down on it. So this arrow is going down 1.9 degrees. So you're hitting down on it 1 degree. Your dynamic loft, which is the angle that you're giving the club. So you're giving the club face 31 degrees of loft, which means your hands are probably a little bit behind the club face. And then your launch angle is 22 degrees. So that's the actual launch angle of that going through here. The idea is you want to, shrink these vectors and get them very tight and close to each other to eliminate more room for error type of thing. But this is how you can optimize, your club fittings or your golf clubs to basically set you up for the most success. Whether you have a good shot or a bad shot, we can now narrow those misses down based on the data that we get. So as you can see, definitely very, very useful from a club fitting standpoint. But not only that, an instructional standpoint to where you can see, okay, maybe not just looking at one shot and saying, okay, we need to fix everything based on this one shot. But throughout the course of a lesson, I can show you, before we started here, now we're here, and now you've got visual confirmation to kind of back up your methods that you're trying to teach to the students. So again, goes back to putting a visual on the screen. It's a lot of stuff you could probably, you can partially dissect some of this through a video, but you can't get these fine measurements with a camera, and you can't, explain these things in a way that not everybody can, understand them, especially, junior golfers and stuff that learn so visually now.
Yep.
This is huge. Yeah. Okay. Now we also have a little easier way of seeing it as opposed to having the big 3D picture and throwing everything to you at once. We kind of break it down in a 2D factor as well. So you can kind of see what the face angle is as opposed to the path. So the face is just a little closed or pointing to the left. This just kind of shows you how the golf ball is leaving the club face, how the angle of the ball is spinning. And then we have what's called our speed and acceleration profiles. So speed and acceleration profiles are actually going to measure kind of what the shaft is doing. And it basically just shows you if the golf club is reacting consistently. This is something that's widely used for club fittings and teachings within our users. It's something that's only available through FlightScope with our X Series devices. As far as the speed and acceleration profiles, none of the competition has the ability to get these measurements. And they're great for club fitting. You can line up your trajectories and your numbers to make sure they're correct, and then you can basically pull this page up and show it as a confirmation saying, this is really finely tuned golf equipment, or this is just a really good player that's compensating for this really crappy golf club that he's got in his hand, which can happen, believe it or not. It's kind of why some days you wake up and you're hitting the golf ball perfect, and the next day you go out and you stink. And it's a lot of times that can be your equipment. So, it is good to have this type of technology to kind of confirm and give these instructors and club fitters a little more ammo for their arsenal when they're trying to confirm things with the students, stuff like that. And then, of course, a lot of these, this information is very technical, requires, they're different how you read the graphs for very skilled golfers versus very, beginner golfers. But we have all of that documentation available through our FlightScope learning platform. Not only that, but just we have documentations and videos and stuff that we share with the customers from a salesman's perspective, so that way they can learn how to utilize it and then use it on an everyday basis.
Yeah, that'd be good. I can see that. Yeah. I mean, get someone like me, I'd be learning from scratch here.
No, exactly. Now, a few of the other screens that we went through kind of before on the other software, you know, we have like that grouping screen, which shows your dispersions, which that one was pretty tight. Your Excel spreadsheet screen again. So a lot of it stays the same as you go from software to software. It's just this one, like you saw, has a few more of those fitting aspects to it. And then, of course, the X3 provides you with the environmental optimizer. Now, this is a huge piece of technology. Bryson kind of asked the questions that brought us into inventing this piece of our software.
With all the questions.
Yeah, yeah. And now this is definitely highly useful for touring professionals who travel to so many different locations all the time. But not only that, it gives us the ability to basically normalize our data to any location in the world. And what we mean by that is, let's say we go outside today and there's a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and I'm thinking, it doesn't really matter how good I'm hitting the ball, like, I'm just going to get blown, you know, 30 miles an hour this way. Well, I can actually input my current location, and it will show me what that shot would do with no wind. Or I can input different wind locations and see how my ball is affected by the wind. So if I go out and it's dead still and I want to say, I really struggle when I'm hitting the ball into the wind, well, now you can incorporate, you know, different wind patterns into you. You can see how the ball flies, how much further offline it actually flies. So, like, just for reference, like, let's put in a little bit. You can put in the humidity, yeah. So we can put in, like, let's say we want to put in a crosswind of 40 miles an hour. Okay. So the yellow and red line, that was your actual track shot that you just hit. The blue is what it would do with that condition manipulated at the top. So you can see the biggest data affected is probably going to be the lateral carry, which here. So before that wind, it only went 7 yards offline. After the wind was inputted, it's 37 yards offline, basically. And that's with a 40-mile-an-hour crosswind.
Right.
Now, if we change it to the wind being, maybe it's a downwind, it still stays relatively straight, but now our distance is probably going to be mostly, almost 30 yards of distance added. So it can kind of help you prepare for different weather capabilities. From a club fitting standpoint, you can input stuff maybe into the wind, downwind, make sure that you don't get something that just flutters up in the air and gets killed by the wind, more of a piercing flight type thing. So there's a lot of different avenues you can pursue that you can utilize this environmental optimizer for. The biggest being, now I can normalize the data into any location. And at the end of the day, people who use stuff like a GC quad, you can essentially get the data that would normally show along with the actual track data, and now you have the best of both worlds with only buying one device. So it really does incorporate a lot more information.
So was that just in the last 2 years or so that part was added?
Yeah, I think that was 2019, right? Yeah, I think it was 2019 PGA show. Yeah, yeah, and it's really impressive. I mean, not just like the wind, but you can do the humidity, the air temperature. I can even choose, like, if I want to practice like hitting, so you can change the altitude, but also, like, let's say I'm hitting to like a mountainous course and I hit like, I have one hole where like the green is 50 feet above me maybe. You can actually incorporate that, and you can see on the side here, you see how that one actually lands 50 feet up in the air? So you can see that. So then you can see your carry distance is affected 20 yards back by hitting 50 yards or 50 feet uphill. So you can choose uphill or downhill too, and see how that affects the distances as well. So not only just the actual environmental temperature and conditions, but also your the level of your playing field too. So definitely gives you a lot of options.
So much,
yeah. And the biggest thing too is like it shows you like an average distance. So like not only like just exact distances for every shot you get, but now you can get actual averages, and not only for the actual shot you hit, but also for the environmentally optimized to those locations. So you can see, your first shot of data there on the top line, and then the EO data, what that would actually look like there below it. So like for shot 2 and shot 3, you actually get all of those data pieces inputted there and how that's affected, along with the deviations and stuff like that. So, and that's like the really detailed view. You can actually do a summarized view of it, which just shows the averages as opposed to every single shot. So if you're just looking at session averages over time, just kind of breaks it down into each golf club or whichever golf ball. Like some people use it to do like a golf ball comparison. So like since we have a controlled indoor environment, we could actually use different golf balls and test them to see how it changes the data and things like that.
Hi, how are you?
Henry.
Hi, I'm Dana Gordon.
Nice to meet
Nice to meet you. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what do you think?
I mean, it's impressive. I enjoy it. Someone like me, I'm not quite as technical, so I would have to really dive in, but it's very impressive. I mean.
She's a golfer too, Henry.
I can see that.
I'm a golfer.
I
but
think she got
I
17
know.
points on
I'm
the
a
skills
golfer
app.
from
So.
a long time ago, though.
Did she
I don't
really?
think I ever actually had a club fitting. I've never.
Well, some people don't need them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Truth.
I mean, maybe 20 years ago I did. I don't know. I can't remember. But
The
yeah.
interesting thing is with data and stuff, you don't know what you don't know yet. And as you go deeper into it, and you start using it piece by piece,
Right.
then you start finding ways to improve both your scores,
Yeah.
your swing and everything.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's I can tell you now that there's always a better club for you now today.
Right.
In terms of dispersion and accuracy, depends on where you are. But the simple thing by just changing the shaft,
Mm-hmm.
you can forget distance, may not always about distance, but for accuracy, you can improve your accuracy tremendously by just going to something else.
Right.
You never know it unless
Right.
you see the data.
Right.
So
Yeah.
with irons, really it's a question of feeling and confidence and accuracy, repeatability. So if you look at your grouping per club,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll find something that's better for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not work for even for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very personal. Then the other thing that's there is if you look at your gapping between clubs, everybody's got a problem with some club in the back. Either there's a loft and lie problem with direction or distance, or you just have a problem with a particular club for reasons that maybe swing weight or combination of things which you don't even know how to
Right.
work. You'll find that if you look at your gapping, you're going to see a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
And these people just don't know these things.
Right. Right. Once you've learned about it and figure out and try it out, yeah.
I mean, we
I
even
see
saw
that.
with the Mevo Plus how you can do that stuff with yourself on the driving range. I mean, that's the beauty of the different devices is you don't have to have the top tier device to gather that type of information.
Yeah.
And that's why Mevo Plus, I mean, it bridges the gap between the instructor and the student so well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. I think, I mean, all the products. And it is nice to see you have the different levels of how much you want and what's available, different options. Yeah.
Because the small one, the Mevo one, you'll be surprised how much you can do with it. One thing that I do is with the Mevo, because it's so small, it's easy to set up. And I would go and say, take a 7-9, and I try to get my warm up, and I try to get my ball speeds the same. And because I'm a trigger happy guy when it comes to anything sport, because I did other sports where there was a trigger and an explosion. So for me, golf was totally against my nature. You know, I shouldn't explode apparently. And so I need to move myself to do this lazy motion of a golf swing for me. Yeah. So I did athletics and I did karate and I did javelin and all kinds of stuff, and it was everything is boom. So I'm always my mind is saying boom it.
Right.
And it doesn't always work so well.
Right.
But with the
Timing
Mevo,
and tempo,
yeah,
right?
With the Mevo one, it's
Yeah.
easy for me just to go there and just find that feeling where I can get a comfortable swing, get my ball speed very close, and that's amazing how everything comes together by just using that one thing.
Right. Right. It's almost just like one swing thought, right? You're not overcomplicated. It's just
Yeah.
trying to think of that.
Well, that's what I was kind of showing her with the data margins too.
Yeah.
You can kind of just set the margins and on one parameter, and maybe after you perfect one, you can see how it's affected the other,
Right.
and kind of attack it like one at a time type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. For instance, there's a more complex one if you take angle of attack. Most amateurs don't pushing,
Right.
me included. You know, you just place your ball and hit it, but every inch that you shift the ball, you change your angle of attack, everything else changes. It's a massive change you introduce. So by watching angle of attack, for instance, you can actually now hit, say, one club and just keep at it and try to keep the angle of attack within margins. Now you have to, now there are quite a few things that come into play there. It's your entire swing plane, you know, how the ball works, and your ball position. And so if you use that as a control parameter, and you can get that to say within amateur maybe 2 degrees, pro within a degree,
Yeah.
your accuracy
You make
goes.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's
Anyway, so
impressive.
have fun. Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too. Thank you. We look forward to working with you guys.
Absolutely. Okay,
Yes,
all the best.
I appreciate being here.
Yeah.
Seeing it first person here. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very cool.
All right. We'll speak again.
Okay, thanks. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so, you know, from a capability standpoint, there's not a whole, I mean, it does do short game capability as well. It does track chipping and putting. A lot more basic as far as the, yeah, we typically use putting mats like this, or even like the big one here, going the long way.
Yep.
It's not a lot of information. You know, there's specialized short game tracking capabilities now with like stuff that go on the actual putter. There's stuff that's like called like a SAM putt lab, which are like $25,000, $30,000 sophisticated, like putting only type of launch monitor systems. The beauty of this obviously is that it's all in one. It's not going to be as extravagant, but it's quicker and easier to set up. It has video capabilities, just like, you know, with the other devices, where you can get a video down the line, one with the iPad.
Yeah, I feel like the
So-
video part is so key. 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah.
You don't realize a lot in your swing until you see it on video.
Well,
you know?
yeah, and not only,
Yeah.
you know, like a studio like this, but out on the driving range, I mean, you can get an X3 video there, we can use iPad here, and we can even get a third phone all at the same time. So you can do 3 viewpoints
Yeah.
along with the data all simultaneously, which is actually really cool. I wonder if we have a session on here, because I'm not sure we can, I don't know if we've got a, let me see if we've got a session
When
on
you're-
here.
Game stuff too. So the big difference between X3 and Euro Plus is Euro Plus only does putting in simulation.
Yeah.
Whereas this is actually like a game improvement software. So if you're working on like your, you know, actually working on becoming a better putter
Right.
or chipper,
Yeah.
then you want the X3 because it does a little more like performance data with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like analyze your alignment.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you know, with the short game, you actually go closer to the unit. You're only 5 feet away.
Okay.
So the video that the unit actually captures, you can see where the ball is impacted on the putter face, which is nice. You can make sure that number one, they're striking it in the center of the putter face, which for amateurs can be difficult, even myself included. But not only that, but you know, even the videos from face on and around. So much with short game, a lot of people are even myself, are you know, kind of hesitant to get data driven on the short game because it's so much feel. And you know, realistically, from you know, putting standpoint, I'd only like it to be data driven if it was like a fitting. Other than that, I'd like it to be, you know, this is just me personally speaking, but you know, from an instructional standpoint, a lot of it is more camera based, and that's where the short game software also helps. Is you can get those videos, which are really helpful, but then if you want some data with it, it's all right there, and it captures it all at the same time.
Game, I don't know, you know, can it tell? Like, I guess it's more ball speed. Like, tells you how far if you're trying to hit that 50-yard shot.
Yeah. So short game is going to be less than 30-yard. Yeah, it's very short chip shots, like the bump and run type shit shots around the green, or for putting of anything less than 30 feet. Which we can show you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me open that other session just to show you what the data looks like with it. So let's go to a single viewpoint. And so it shows you, you know, like the club path if you're swinging it far inside out or outside in, the face angle of it. It does the smash factor just like before. But as you can see, not a ton of data that comes with it, but useful data. Face to target. So face to target line of the actual radar, and then face to path of the actual club traveling. So those numbers are going to be slightly different unless you're swinging directly on target. But then you can see here kind of the snake eye video viewpoint here, how you can actually see where the putter is actually, so that was even a little toey. You can see how his face closed a little early on that, and it was toey. You can hook up body track mats with this device, so it's like it captures your weight transfer, focus band, which tracks neurological movement in your brain. So you can get very, very technical. Yeah. And some of that stuff you can do even with the full swing stuff, especially like the body track mats and things like that. So.
What is the neurological?
Yeah, so it's called focus band, and it actually it tracks if you're using the right or left side of your brain. It can tell if you're actually like solely focused on one piece or if your eyes are kind of wandering throughout the area. And kind of similar to like the data margins, you kind of set the baseline of how hard it is to get into those like state of mind, and then you can slowly make it harder and harder and harder, and then it trains your brain. From my experience, I don't know if you feel this way, Tyler, from my experience, it's almost a lot like, it almost trains you to like meditate and like control your breathing, and basically just get into a state of like super basic, like, oh, I'm so bored. Like basically like nothing's going through your mind, and then you would go up and hit your golf shot. And that's what it's trying to do, is train you to like clear your mind of everything that's going on, and then go hit your golf shot.
Yeah, Jason Day used it a lot when it first came out.
Okay.
When you see him behind the ball, like he'll close his eyes like this,
Yeah.
take a deep breath, and then go into it.
That's like the
Yeah,
routine that he's going through. Yeah,
meditation.
exactly.
For a lot of our users, a little too much to have like this and the data, so we stopped selling it. We're still integrated, but we stopped selling it.
Okay.
Yeah.
They got a little more into like the business side, so like for training your employees, and companies are using it for employees to be more.
Yeah, that's.
We actually,
we used to do just basic meditation.
Oh, yeah.
We would sit there and.
It was, I don't know if you've heard the story of Mac. It was when I first started working here, Mac, our other sales rep, one of our other sales reps in there, he was telling me how it works, and I was like, oh, there's no way, this thing's ridiculous, And like, I like had the iPad on like this screen right here, and he was wearing it, and it was like going through, and he's like showing me how it works, and then he takes a phone call, and everything was moving around. He takes a phone call, and he starts talking about like selling a product to him, and just goes into like complete perfect state of like he was a robot, like just. I'm just sitting here talking, like he wasn't even thinking, like he wasn't using any of his brain, he was just talking.
Yes. Oh, that's
So it was like so funny how like he had trained, even just in a work environment, can train himself just to shut anything off. And you could immediately see how it works, it was pretty cool. So, and Henry does swear by it. I mean, he's used it while he's played golf before to kind of train himself and stuff by it. So it is pretty impressive. It's just like he said, not everybody's for that amount of data. Of course.
I may come back with some dumb questions.
Oh, no. Trust me, we don't expect you to learn everything all at once. It's a process, and we still learn, with things on it, and different things I can do and stuff like that. I mean, it's always evolving. So we're always adding things to it. We're always changing things. We're always making it better. So.
Yeah. So can you email me something of
Yeah.